History of the Lord Buddha. The Buddha was a special and influential individual who came into the world over 2,500 years ago. He discovered that all living beings were subjected to the law of karma, a universal law that bound living beings to the endless cycle of existence by creating conditions which in turn confined them to further suffering. The Buddha uncovered the truth behind this universal law and found the path to escape this suffering. The Buddha's conduct results from the perfected virtues, which had been accumulated to the fullest extent. Anyone who sees the Buddha cannot help but feel the deepest respect and awe for him. Throughout his countless existences, he resolved to pursue all the perfected virtues for the purpose of becoming enlightened as the Buddha and to lead living beings to Nibbana. Even in his final existence, he put his life on the line for however long it took for him to find the way out of suffering. He worked tirelessly every day without any regard for hardship from the time of his enlightenment until the time he attained complete Nibbana, lasting altogether 45 years. The Buddha performed the Buddha duties in all three manners. Puttatta Jariya means providing benefit as the Buddha. Yattatta Jariya means benefiting the relatives, and Lokatta Jariya means benefiting all living beings. At the end of the 7th week after attaining enlightenment, our Lord Buddha emerged from his meditative bliss. He was concerned that his enlightened knowledge was so profound that people would have great difficulty in seeing and knowing it. Out of his boundless compassion, the Buddha decided to agree to the Brahma King's request. He employed the Buddha insight to scan human beings and found them to belong to 4 main types, which could be compared to 4 types of lotuses. 1. Ukakati Tanyu, human beings that possess high intelligence and can understand the Dhamma just by listening to the topic. These are like lotuses that have risen above the water and will bloom as soon as they receive the sun's rays. 2. Vipachit Tanyu, human beings that possess medium intelligence and can understand the Dhamma once the topic of the Dhamma has been elaborated upon. These are like lotuses on the surface of the water, which will bloom in the next morning. 3. Nayaya, human beings that can be instructed and can be taught and trained to gain some understanding of the Dhamma. These are like lotuses underneath the water surface, which will bloom in the next few days. 4. Patta Parama, human beings that possess low intelligence and can be taught to know the topic, the words, and the alphabet of the Dhamma, but cannot understand their meaning. These are like lotuses that are buried in the mud and will become food for fish and turtles. Among the first 4 types of beings, the Buddha saw that the first 3 would be able to understand and attain the Dhamma just like him. Reflecting upon this, he then decided to expound Buddhism. After attaining enlightenment, the Buddha performed all the duties of every Buddha before him by teaching the Dhamma, propagating and establishing Buddhism. He helped beings out of suffering and brought them untold happiness. Wherever he was, he continued to perform the 5 Buddha duties. 1. Each morning he sets out for alms round. Going on the alms round had 3 objectives. First, to perpetuate the customs of all the Buddhas. Second, to set a good example for monks to follow. And third, to be a fertile field of merit for the lay people. When the people joyously offer alms to the Buddha, immeasurable amount of merit will await them. The Buddha explained that it was the duty of all the Buddhas to help sentient beings. 2. In the evening, the Buddha taught the Dhamma to the people. Wherever the Buddha stayed, villagers and people in the neighborhood would come pay their respect. Some came to offer things. He would deliver the Anuppupikatha discourse, which includes 1. Generosity, 2. Precepts, 3. Heavens, 4. Harms of sensual pleasure, and 5. Benefits of ordination. In expounding his teachings, the goal was for the comprehension of the Dhamma, not the offerings. Every day, many people penetrated the Dhamma in the footsteps of the Buddha. 3. In the late evening, the Buddha taught the monks. He encouraged them to be content with the monastic life and to train and free themselves from all sufferings the way he had. During this time, the Buddha would deliver, exhort, and instruct with Dhamma talk and clarify any doubts that monks, heirs to the Buddha, might have. 4. At midnight, the Buddha answered questions from the Deva, or celestial beings, which included Brahmas, radiant beings who came down when people were asleep. Some would ask questions, some deliver a short discourse to the Buddha, and some came to listen to the Dhamma. The Buddha would answer their questions. Some beings requested a triple gem as their refuge, and some penetrated the Dhamma. Thus, there were words praising the Buddha, Sattha Tewa Manutsanang, which meant that the Buddha is the great teacher of devas and humans. 5. At dawn, the Buddha would rise and take a seat. He then checked the world with his Buddha insight to see whether anyone possessed the perfections to attain enlightenment, and would go to save them. Even those far away, he set out to meet and help free them from their suffering. In some instances, the Buddha went to visit a hunter while he was hunting in the forest, or to stop a notorious killer, Angulimala, from killing his mother. The Buddha carried out his duties due to his great compassion during his 45-year ministry. Even on the day he was to pass away, he still performed the duty of a great teacher to Supata, the ascetic who penetrated the Dhamma and became enlightened only after the Buddha had passed away. The second conduct of the Buddha is called Yatatta Jariya, which means the noble practice for the benefit of his relatives, friends, and associates. This includes 1. His paternal kinsman, King Suttotana, in the kingdom of Kapilavastu. 2. His maternal kinsman, Queen Silip Mahamaya, in the city of Devadaha. After the Buddha became enlightened, he returned to his hometown after his father, King Suttotana, sent messengers to invite him. The Arahat Kurudeyi waited for the right time to say to the Buddha, "Most exalted one, King Suttotana wishes to see you. May it please the most exalted one to go and save the royal relatives." The Buddha agreed and left the city along with 20,000 disciples for the city of Kapilavastu. The trip took 2 months. When our Lord Buddha arrived, he knew that his relatives' stubborn pride prevented them from paying proper homage to him. Therefore, he worked the Yamaka miracle in order to remove their stubborn pride. Being in complete awe of the miracle, King Suttotana paid homage to the Buddha, and at the same time all the relatives lost their stubborn pride and went down on their knees to bow low at the Buddha's feet. The next morning, the Buddha and the disciple went into the city to allow the people to make merit by offering food as alms. King Suttotana heard about the alms round and came to ask the Buddha to stop, since begging for alms was not the practice of royalty. The Buddha gently said to the king, "I am no longer a royalty. I have taken up the religious life to follow in the footsteps of the previous Buddhas. I belong to the Buddha lineage, and it has been every Buddha's practice to beg for alms." The Buddha then gave the king a Dhamma lecture, at the end of which King Suttotana attained the fruit of the once returner, Sakatakami. King Suttotana then carried the Buddha's alms bowl and requested the Buddha and his disciples to take their meal in the palace. Having established King Suttotana in the fruit of the once returner, the Buddha went to save Princess Yasodhara, his former wife, and Prince Brahura, his son. He delivered the Dhamma sermon to Prince Yasodhara and reminded her how she was his Kalyamitta, or virtuous friend, during his pursuit of perfections for 100,000 incalculable eons and 20,000 world cycles. Upon hearing the teaching, she gained the state of extreme enterer, Sodaban. Later on, she and almost 100,000 other relatives ordained as bhikkhunis and attained arahatship and entered nibbana. When he came to teach his relatives for the first time, Princess Yasodhara sent their son, Prince Rahura, to ask for his inheritance, but the Buddha saw that no wealth could equal the transcendental inheritance, nibbana. He then arranged for Prince Rahula to ordain as the first novice monk in Buddhism. He taught the Dhamma to his son until the prince attained arahatship and became revered among the other disciples as foremost in quietly doing good deeds. In the 7th year after his enlightenment, the Buddha went to Tawatimsa heaven to spend the Buddhist Lent and save his mother Mahamaya there. The Buddha taught the higher doctrine, Abhidhamma, to his birth mother and the celestial congregation. At the end of this period, the Buddha's birth mother attained the fruit of stream entrance. Apart from this, thousands of his relatives ordained in the order of Sangha, and some gained Asiti Mahasawok excellent skills, while others were excellent in propagating Buddhism. It was said that the cities of Devadaha and Kapilavastu were separated by a river named Rohini. The people of both kingdoms were sharing the river until one day there was a drought and a water shortage. This gave rise to quarrels between the two sides that escalated into violence, and their armies had to be mobilized for battle. The Buddha saw the situation with his Buddha insight and arrived by air to halt the army as they prepared to battle. He admonished them and asked them to see the importance of love between relatives and the thickness of blood ties. He said that their love should be deeper than water and that they should share the water with one another. His third conduct is Puttata Jaliya, which is providing benefit as a Buddha, or the greatest teacher of the world. After he attained enlightenment, he separated his duty into two parts. 1. His private duty allowed him to spend his time in peace, in solitude that sometimes lasted for 7 or 15 days, according to the circumstances. This showed that although he helped a lot of people, finding time for himself can be done in conjunction. 2. The beneficial conduct for the people at large was to set the wheel of Dhamma in motion, establish and propagate Buddhism before departing the world. After his enlightenment, he set the wheel of Dhamma in motion and had numerous disciples who ordained after him. In the early stage, he ordained the disciples himself, but later allowed elder monks to ordain monks and novices once the authority was delegated to the congregation of monks. His vision for the future once he's gone was to enable monks to look after themselves and for the disciples to become his heirs. He instructed that the respect should be given according to the time of ordination. Those who ordained earlier would take care of those who ordained later, and in return, the latter ones would assist and give respect to those ordained earlier. We can divide the teamwork of Buddhism into 4 groups. 1. Bhikkhus or monks. 2. Bhikkhunis or female monks. 3. Upasaka or male lay devotees. 4. Upasika or female lay devotees. The congregation of monks not only should train themselves, but also have the responsibilities of protecting, disseminating the Dhamma, and teaching the bhikkhunis, upasaka, and upasika. Upasaka and upasika, apart from working on their own pursuit of perfections through generosity, moral conduct, and meditation, had the main duties of providing the congregation of monks with the 4 requisites, attending to their needs, and propagating Buddhism. Buddhism is a religion derived from a knowledgeable person, based on the wisdom attained by the Buddha when he became enlightened. It did not arise from someone's thought or postulation. He discovered this pre-existing universal law that governs life and the world, that life is suffering, the truth of the suffering, the cause of suffering, and the path leading to the cessation of suffering. He meditated to a high level and found the way out of suffering, and with boundless compassion, he shared this great knowledge with all living beings so that they can escape the suffering just like him. Although over 2,500 years have passed, Buddhism remains a refuge for many of today's citizens, as it did for centuries before. Its preservation and prosperity lies in the joint effort of the four Buddhist communities, as consistent with what the Buddha once uttered. As long as there are faithful followers who continue to practice my teachings, Buddhism will continue to flourish